Hi, I'm Jake Vossenkemper, Director of Research and Agronomy here at Liqui-Grow.
Hi, I'm Katie Hess, Director of Sales and Marketing here at Liqui-Grow. Jake, thanks for giving me my job back for marketing. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. I don't want your job or any other marketing job, so no problem.
Well, we're going into Thanksgiving time frame, which, that only means one thing.
What's that?
Besides football, is time to just put in our final orders for seed for 2024. And I was thinking back to this summer, and we spent an awful lot of time out in the fields looking at all this Phytophthora that we saw.
Yep.
And now I feel like we've already forgotten about it. So today, Jake, could we kind of go back to those days, think about the Phytophthora, think about what happened and what the outcomes were and what we can do for 2024 to mitigate some of that?
Yeah, so taking a trip back in time here a little bit, as you suggest, we had a very dry early growing season, I'm sure you all remember. Some of us got a good bout of rain around 4th of July, wasn't it?
I know. I literally just looked at this yesterday, took a picture that night. We got a huge rain in our house. Like June 24th, maybe, at our house.
Okay.
I left the charcoal bag out that night.
Thank you.
It rained.
So anyway, we got a big rain at the end of June, beginning of July, right? And so shortly after that, within a couple of weeks, you had started calling me. I had some other salesmen calling me and saying they were seeing lots of yellow soybeans. And I wasn't...
A strange time of the year to see yellow soybeans.
Correct. And I went and started looking, and what I was finding was Phytophthora, which at first I thought was Fusarium because of the very dry early growing season. You might expect Fusarium and not Phytophthora. But because I wasn't unsure and the symptoms weren't lining up exactly with Fusarium, I sent some off to Iowa State, and I sent more off, and they were all coming back as Phytophthora, okay? Which was strange because we were so dry, and Phytophthora typically needs water. And it's usually an early season seedling disease. But with that big rain event, that was enough rain to really move Phytophthora around the field. Phytophthora is a water mole that has to swim through water to infect individual plants. So surprisingly, we did have a bunch of Phytophthora. And so the question then is, well, what do you do about it, right, going forward? Well, in season, there's nothing you can do about it, unfortunately. But going forward, you can think a lot about varietal selection.
So, Jake, should we be taking a chance and planting these same beans again this next year?
Well,
or what should we look at as we're picking beans out?
If you had Phytophthora, and you know you had Phytophthora, you should absolutely not be planting the same bean, okay? Because obviously that bean was not resistant to that Phytophthora pathogen in the soil, okay? So I'm going to start off by saying this, kind of shortly after that, all those big events, I was doing a lot of reading about Phytophthora, and I came across a recently published paper by by Iowa State and University of Nebraska. And what they did is they did a big survey across Iowa and Nebraska, collecting different Phytophthora pathogens, and then seeing which Phytophthora genes which pathogens were resistant to which Phytophthora genes. Okay. And so the most common Phytophthora genes you're going to find in your book are the 1C, 1K, and 3A.
Right.
And unfortunately, in that big survey, they found that upwards of 80 to 85% of the Phytophthora pathogens in the soil were resistant to the 1C and 1K gene. The 3A, however, showed very low levels of resistance. So if you had Phytophthora in 2023, you really want to try your best to find a high-yielding cultivar with that 3A gene. And there are some out there.
Now, this is just kind of your best guess without being out there to survey these plants from this last year and know exactly what you've got. This would be your best guess, right?
Correct. Yep, that's right. Yep. And so that's really what I would try to key on if you had Phytophthora in 2023. And I say that because it's likely whatever Phytophthora gene you had was not working. Okay.
So most of those fields that were soybeans this year are going to corn this next year. Traditionally, that's our rotation. So looking at the following year or even the year after, is that Phytophthora still going to be out in the field?
Yes, that Phytophthora is still going to be out there. So you're correct. The traditional rotation, of course, would be plant corn. But even thinking ahead to 2025, if I'm going to plant beans back in that field again, I want to be thinking about the 3A gene. Can I find some good soybean cultivars with the 3A gene?
Because bearing a little bit of soil residual is not going to help us in this matter.
No. The other things, though, that can be important is looking at Phytophthora field tolerance. So there's kind of natural genetic tolerance, and then there's the genes. Mm-hmm. So also be looking at natural genetic tolerance. You want a high score, particularly in those fields where you've had problems. The other thing that you definitely need to consider is a seed treatment. And seed treatments can be, fungicide seed treatments can be reasonably effective on Phytophthora. But the reason they weren't super effective in 2023 is the way fungicides work is they are systemic. They get absorbed by the plant. They go up in the plant tissue and the roots to protect the plant. But as the plant gets bigger, the concentration of that fungicide starts to go down in the plant, right? So your seed treatments are going to be really effective for the first, 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then their effectiveness is going to wear off. So the reason Phytophthora was so bad, part of the reason is the fungicide seed treatment had lost its effectiveness by the time we got the infection. So going forward, fungicide seed treatments are still a great strategy, particularly for early season Phytophthora problems.
Well, thanks for your information today, Jake. And if you have any other questions on this, reach out to your Liqui-Grow sales rep. We'd love to answer your questions.
Stay in the know with Liqui-Grow.